What is up? It is Paristtmpped, Paristtmpped. I forgot to do the intro, so I was like, oh shit, let me put it in right now. Damn, that shit just started. I didn't even. As you can see, we are back in my room. I am not outside because I'm actually gathering up the rest of the inventory for my store at www.paristtmpped.com. If you haven't been keeping up with the Kardashians. So, backstory. I used to live with some friends, and their dog really yeah. But I'm still gonna use it. Fuck it. So today's video is gonna be about consistency as a trans person. I really feel like these past few years have taught me the importance of remaining consistent. I feel like, at one point in my life, it wasn't that I was not consistent. It was just more so that I wasn't following through. So I was consistent to a point, and then I would just drop it and go to the next thing, or like I would let other people get in my head about it, or if some people didn't understand what I was trying to put down, then I would pick it back up and throw that shit out. So I feel like, I was kind of misunderstanding even my own version of consistency, and I thought that me having schedules and being like I'm a really big notebook person. I like to write things down. I thought me being like that was too critical on myself, and I thought that it was a skill that I shouldn't keep with me. I looked around, I didn't see people doing it, so I thought I don't need to do it myself. And I feel like that really put me on this wrong path. But then it wasn't really until I started taking my creativity serious that I was like, okay, I can be consistent. I can do this. So I knew this one person, they went by this one name for a very long time. They're also trans. And then out the blue, they just changed their name, and they told me their new name. And to this day, I forgot it. Cause it was years with me going by, and nothing was wrong with that, but I feel like that kind of ties into consistency. I was that one trans guy that had this one name that I had everybody calling me for a very long time, and now now that I'm finally going back to my true name, which is Paris, I see people in the store sometimes, and they're like, "Yo, what's good?" And I'm like, "God damn, nobody call me that." It's almost like I don't even know who they're fucking talking to. So you have to understand that even though you're going through your own this, people only see you face value. They don't see you on they don't see you every day. They don't see you behind closed doors. They don't see your who you talk to every day. And unless they're keeping up with the Kardashians, then you're not gonna have people remembering all your names and everything. So if you're going through different decisions, I'm not trying to say do it in private, but I a lot of my decisions and my misunderstandings I did alone. I let myself go through that process. I didn't take everybody on that ride with me, because when I was finally consistent, I didn't have anything to kind of pull me back, which I do feel like not being consistent does. Because then when you are finally consistent, it's like it's almost like addiction. When you're addicted, is being consistent in that addiction, and when you're finally trying to kind of pull yourself from it, it's like that temptation. You have a lot of things that's trying to put you back on your regular course. So I'm almost learning how to not give into that, I don't want to do it, blah 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 blah, that procrastination. I feel like school put me into that, because I think I spent a lot of my time in spaces I was bored in spaces that weren't for me, and I tried to make it for me. And because I was good at I'm really good at learning things, so because I was good at learning where I was like, okay, maybe I'm just not good. Maybe I just don't like this shit. Maybe I can't be a consistent person, but it really is just about finding something that you actually enjoy and making sure you're consistent in your word. And that goes out beyond just activities in terms of your own name, whoever you want. You don't gotta. Sometimes being consistent is consistently not putting yourself in a box. In terms of whatever you choose for your sexuality. Sometimes when you put yourself in a box, it can make you think you're not consistent and think you have to choose, and you'll be overthinking when you really get to be yourself. Sometimes being consistent and just authenticity is really what you need to do. And also allow your goals to change. I feel like sometimes, in the past, I've had a lot of things I would do, and now that I'm older, a lot of the things that I put aside for a bit are coming back and making more sense. Allow yourself to experiment through life and through your creativity and through your what you want to do with yourself and your goals. Sometimes you might want to go to school for a short period of time, and you'll have this degree just lying around in your back pocket, and then one day you'll fall in love with this one situation, and you realize, wait a minute, this is my passion. I want to be a doctor. That's not my story, but I'm just saying. I just feel like understanding that consistency is also just being consistent in the authenticity and in your curiosity in what you want to do. Sometimes I forget I'm still young. I feel like sometimes if you're not consistent, you'll be all over the place and feel like you're just zooming through life. I feel like I've lived so many different lives because I was afraid to be consistent in the one I wanted to choose. I'm finally being consistent in it, and it really feels like I'm like in my life for once. It's very creepy what happens when you're just consistent within yourself. It feels funny. You'll have a lot of tests and temptations to go backwards, but going forward is so much more comfortable, and I'm not saying predictable, but it's almost like full of magic and wonder because now you're seeing things that align with who you are inside. So being consistent is more than just being consistent, y'all. It's really just finding yourself and, figuring out who you are and then choosing to stay within that. Transitioning can take away a lot of creative time and creative space, which is very true. In college, I was transitioning. I was going to college. I spent a lot of time out there instead of like within, which nothing's wrong with that. I would do it all over again. But I just feel like now that I'm here, I want to spend it here because then out here reflects in here. It's I can't explain it. If you're catching what I'm throwing, comment down below. I'm catching what you're throwing. But it's one of those things where even though you're transitioning, it's going to always be this uphill climb. I had posted recently on my TikTok that it's a continuous side quest. New things are always going to be happening. One moment, nothing will be happening. Next moment, you'll look back and realize, wow, I look completely different. Like if you focus too much on your shell, you'll miss the whole damn game. And in games, picking who you are is like the beginning. And then there's the game. And then it doesn't even fucking matter what you are. You could be a fucking goblin for all the game cares. So it really is just being consistent in your consistency. I wrote, be patient with yourself. It took me a while to figure out what routine I even wanted. Who do I want to be every day? And really, it's just, I have goals. So I want to be that person every day that wakes up actively working towards my goal, understanding that I may always be working towards it. But that's something that I had to really take into consideration. Like, wait a minute, like I'm probably in the success of the goal I wanted to achieve, because there's so many times I look back and I'm like, wait a minute, I've been had that happen, I just never noticed. So it's just like I'm probably within it, so I'm just adding more to the table. I had this habit of writing a bunch of sticky notes of what I want to do, and the next day I'm like 10 plus sticky notes, and sometimes it overlaps and sometimes there's literally 20 things I want to do and they all don't get done, what I'm saying? But it's one of those things I'm just learning, just have the goals and work towards it every day. And when you don't know what you want to do, you'll have like that foundation of at least some ideas of who you are as a person. I feel like either choose a path or choose no path. At one point I chose no path. I chose basically all paths. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just try it all. I was doing bartending school. Like, when I tell you at this point, working in after school programs, everything at the same, catering, I'm doing like construction, I'm doing land, I'm doing everything. At one point I was everybody, fresh out of college. And it really, who I really went back to was myself. I did all that climbing because sometimes it's hard for us to go, wait a minute, I know exactly who I want to be. Or sometimes being who you want to be means you got to go through a bunch of experiences. Like, I feel like I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't do all the crazy shit I did, to be honest. So, sometimes your goal will lead you down the craziest paths. You'll be like Dorothy in this bitch, and you'll start meeting all types of shit. Lions, tigers, and bears. That's just the way of life. That's the fun part of the fucking game. It's actually just the action of it, not the... I remember when I was younger, I had this 3DS, and I had this game called Mario Land. Now, don't get me wrong. I beat Mario Kart 7. I wasn't never a gamer. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like the peaceful games that went on my pace, that I can come back to and feel no remorse and start from the beginning and end at the end. But Mario Land was the one game where it was levels. The one game, other than Wario, that I think I beat other games, but that was the one that really was like monumental, because I remember just like there was this one level where you're like beating Browser, and I'm going through all this. I can remember being like in the beginning of the game and like going, damn, I gotta get all the way to the end. So I'm at this last level, I'm beating Browser, and then I beat Browser, I get the princess, and I'm like, damn, I beat the game. So I'm like excited. I'm like, holy shit. Then I'm like, what now? So I go back to play it again. I was like, what the? When I say I went back to the beginning of the game and it just didn't, I knew what to do. It didn't feel the same. I was beating the level like that. I beat browser again. It just didn't hit. I never played it again because I already beat the fucking game. So that's the point of life, y'all, is playing it the first time. Because when you go and do it again and you try to go back to your old goals and all this old shit, sometimes a lot of these sticky notes will probably never get done. That's the crazy part. Like, I mean, a lot of them will, because a lot of them are shit I really got to do. But sometimes I end up doing it without even knowing, and now I look back and I'm like, I been did that shit. Then I put it in my jar of stickies. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how life goes. They end up becoming a jar of stickies. And I could probably open them and they all feel insignificant. But I can remember putting some in there and going, I finally did it. You know? And yeah, get into a routine. I don't follow mine every day. Like every day I have, you know, my work schedule is crazy. I have goals. There's things that sometimes I got to squeeze shit in. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes things get inconvenient and, you know, things happen. But overall, I follow the routine. Only because, from what it seems, is that this routine is leading me towards my goal. So, if you have a goal, see what kind of routine would help you and follow it. Because there's going to be days you don't want to do shit and you're going to have to follow that damn routine. No matter how much you don't want to. I literally tested it out. There was a day I didn't want to do nothing. And I went and I said, let me just try this one thing. I tried this one thing and it was pissing me off. It took me 5 fucking hours. And it got fucking done. When I tell you, there was a point where I almost closed my computer. But it got done. And I'm like, wow. And once I finished that, all these new ideas and new things were just coming to the surface. And I was like, holy shit. If I didn't do that, this wouldn't be here. So you have to understand that completing these mythical goals that you are just creating from the ethers of your mind are opening doors to other doors. So you should be considerate of yourself and considerate of the fun paths and games that are awaiting you if you just get that shit done. Don't say all your goals out loud. I had a habit of doing, I mean, when I tell you something good would happen to me, or no, let me not know. When something good happens to me, I do share that because now it's already materialized and it's insignificant. But when I tell you, every time I shared a goal, it didn't get done. Something mythical would come and tear that shit the fuck down. Not trying to say I have monitoring spirits. Not trying to say I have people trying to tear me down. But I'm just saying sometimes you could be jinxing your path. So shut the fuck up. And some people will look for perfection in you. They look for perfection in me. I had someone tell me, you're always consistent and then you just stop. Well, that's because I'm trying to do multiple things. So when I'm not pouring into one cup, I'm dripping some milk in the other. Pause. I'm just saying though, for real. Like I'm painting Picasso in this bitch. Like I'm Bob Ross. Like I'm really working every day to get towards something. So some people won't understand that. Some people will only see the piece that they liked within you and go, why aren't you being that piece every day? Well, that's because you're not seeing the whole puzzle, babe. And I can't control that. And that's the end of the video, y'all. So I want to do this new thing at the end of my video. It's called show and tell. And today's show and tell is going to be my tiger's eye stone. When I tell you in person, it looks so fucking cool. I hate that you can't see. Like, do you see how it shines like that? Like, it shines like that in person. It's fucking beautiful. And I want to read to you what is the benefits of having tiger's eye. Yes, it's a fucking crystal. I had someone tell me that it's a stone. It's a crystal. Y'all are false. So, beautiful Google says, tiger's eye is a legendary crystal of courage, confidence, and clarity. Used for centuries by warriors, spiritual seekers alike. This stone helps you stand your ground, move through fear with calm power. Whether you're stepping into a new version of yourself, cutting cords with doubt, or reclaiming your energy, tiger's eye holds it down for you. It activates the solar plexus chakra, grounding your confidence and truth and helping you see clearly through illusion. What is it known for? Boosting self-confidence, motivation, deflecting negative energy, and spiritual attacks. Help you stay focused and centered under pressure, aligning your spiritual with divine protection. Wearing or carrying tiger's eye helps with spiritual bodyguard mixed with a motivational coach. And that is tiger's eye. So, wow. I love this. Y'all can kind of see it that way. That's how it looks in person, the way it does that. It's just, I love carrying it with me. Ever since I've been carrying this, I do feel like a lot of things have been coming to light. And I always tell people, like, it's not really about what the crystal is doing. It's about what it's reminding you, It's reminding you of the power within. And this is reminding me that I'm divinely protected, that I'm confident. And if this is around me, then if it's not working, then I'm not believing. And whether it's the real or fake, I'm believing. This is a reminder. But, yeah. I want y'all to go check out my website right now at www.Paristtmpped.com. I've been doing so many updates. My store is dropping soon. It's a lot happening. Look over there in that box. That box right there has all the inventory for the store. And North is here to say what's up. North, say what's up. This is North. If you haven't met her before, say what's good, North. She's smelling, man. Yeah, that's the video, guys. Peace.